So good to be the last speaker of this wonderful event. Some really great speakers here and a lot of things to take away. I've understood that teaching is important, extremely important. A brilliant session on sex education, career blindness. And with the great topic of career blindness, I would want to start off with saying that I also started off as an engineer. Well, I'm a digital marketer by profession, but I started off as an engineer. And I went on to do electrical and electronics engineer because I think that was the right thing to do back then. And then I finished engineering. I survived engineering, rather. And then I came back to my hometown, Hyderabad. And then I said, I have to do something different. And what can this different be? Let's do theater for a year. And we started this theater organization. The problem was, no one was coming for our plays. They were not interested in us. Well, Facebook is now, but back then there used to be two amazing social channels called Orkut and Hi-Fi. And Hi-Fi to everyone who knows Orkut here. I think Orkut has been extremely important in building the social landscape of the world. There were no ads out there. You had freedom of only viewing what your friends were writing. And today, I would say, perhaps the most strongest muscle, or rather the finger that you have, are these two thumbs, which we all keep scrolling day in and day out, again and again, hoping to find some conversations about our friends. But it's not conversations that we end up seeing. We end up seeing only brand talk. And brands have money, and they keep pushing this money left, right, and center. And we are bearing these ads on wherever we go. In fact, if you think closely, your user behavior, or rather what you're searching for online, has such an important part to play that wherever you're going, the ads have started following you. Now, I think it's quite scary as well. I think more than our parents, our browser, or our laptop, our mobile phone knows more about us. And obviously, they would definitely know more about us with all the WhatsApp chats, to all the Facebook updates, to Instagram photos. A big loud world of social media out there. All right, so before I talk about very specifics, I think it's important to talk about the field that I am in, which is media and advertising. And considering some of you don't know this field in and out, let me tell you, there is something called as CAP. There is a client, there is an agency, and then there is a platform or a publisher. Now, clients have all sorts of problems. They literally tell us, look, my brand awareness has to go up by 5x. And then we are like, okay, we'll find a quick solution on that, don't worry. The other guy comes and says, look, I have this credit card, and I want 1,000 leads coming in the next 3 days. And then obviously we say, okay, we'll come back, don't worry. So these problems can be addressed by various forms of media, all right? And media is so diverse. Imagine going on a Western Express highway, you keep seeing hoardings of all the top shows on the OTT players. But remember that this exposure is very constant. Anything that I advertise on TV is viewable for everyone. Anything I put on print is viewable for everyone. Anything I put on hoarding, everyone can see it. It's a common touch point. But when it comes to digital, all these platforms, again in digital, there is something called as search, there is something called as social media, there is something called as programmatic, there is something called as impact buys, there is something called as standard, there is something called as video buys. It is a big world out there. And plus, the same media can be targeted to you on your mobile device, which is your personal screen. So how has the industry moved? The industry has moved from TV, print, radio, outdoor, to a little more of digital. It's more digitally inclined. Initially, we used to consume very simple formats, right? So we used to talk about text, thank you, Orkut. And then now, it is videos, it is photos, it is infographics, it is 360 videos, it is 360 pictures, it is augmented reality videos, it is virtual reality videos. The formats have become so many that imagine a client sitting here and thinking, where do I really invest? All right? And they have the money. So that is the client for you. The second is agency. Now, having worked with different brands, different platforms, we really understand, and with the various tools, where the media money needs to be invested. So we obviously act more as the curators or planners to solving business solutions that the client have. And last comes the platforms or the publishers. These are the top sites in entertainment, sports. These are the sites that we all visit to. Important part. So the client has a problem. We know how to solve the problem, but we need one core thing. We need media, and which all these sites or apps or applications have. One thing is real. For media to succeed, the most important part is all of us and people like us, which is audiences. Trust me, if we stop going to social, what will brands do? They really have no other options. For media to survive, it is the audiences which are the most important factor. Now let's get into a little more details of this. First, let me address an important point on transparency. India is a market bias, which StatCounter says that about 70% of the people are Android phone users. And I am very sure that even in this room, most of you are Android users. And one of the core insight about the Android user is that you are by default connected with a Google account. And thank you, Google. You are using Google Maps, you are using Google Pay, you are using Gmail, you are using YouTube. We are living in an environment which is predominantly owned and controlled by Google, which is the biggest player that you have. And this is a big reality. Let me ask you a question. What was the last ad that you remember seeing on your mobile phone? If at all you end up remembering, I will ask you a follow-up question to say that, do you think that ad was relevant? And you might really think about it because, don't even look at those ads which are following you, which is classified as remarketing, just because you have shown an affinity towards some form of leather goods or luxury pens, that the ad keeps telling you, hey, buy, take 20% off, take 15% off, buy. And you also are, after a while, you are like, oh, yes, I think I should have got that product. Right? So e-commerce is really doing extremely well. But the reality is, are ads being relevant to you? And you must also understand that when you talk about media ads, they are broken into two buckets. Now, I really don't know the profile of people sitting in the room. So I would call this room as a probabilistic audience to buying, if I say mobile phone, that will hold true for literally everyone. Probabilistic audience for buying, let's say, a luxury leather good. So media is also the same. When it comes to the top social platforms, the audience, which is about 300 plus million, can be profiled across age, gender, location, device that you use, where have you traveled, are you an HNI, all these factors. And brands are profiling these people well. If I were to really call all of us, we must be in a very big library this world has. We are a part of numerous books that this library has, which only means that you are also someone who has shown affinity towards buying something related to, leather. You have also shown affinity towards travel. So imagine yourself, this is how digital ecosystem is classifying you. Whatever you do, any action that you take is being recorded loud and clear. And that is the reality of transparency. Second, the media investments, whatever these brands end up doing, it's not directly media investments. So if they have 100 rupees to spend, they can't spend the 100 rupees because first they will say, I want to spend media. Then they say, okay, let me put some other money on this and ad serve. I want to ensure that you are showing the ad in the right place. Then there is something called as platform fees. Then there is something called as creative fees. All these fees keep adding up. What is the reality? What is the net investments this brand is doing? And secondly, a cutthroat competition between brands of similar category. You can spend 100, I will spend 200. But end of the day, are these investments right? We end up seeing the ads again and again, so much of wastage. Let me give you an example. So the other day, an ad was displayed, and it said that we'll deliver some good chocolates at your place, and beautiful looking ad. I click on it. It takes me to the Google store. I download the app. And when I automatically said, and one of the things that happens here once you install an app is you keep pressing allow in succession. You keep going allow. You don't even care what you want to approve. You first want to go to the app and say, get me the chocolate, right? So in this entire process, you have given all rights, all permissions to people like us to keep targeting you again and again. Now, so I ended up getting this app installed, but unfortunately, the application said, sorry, but we are yet to service in your location. Do check back with us later. And I'm like, okay, so you have been targeting me for the last 1 week. Look at the amount of money or impressions that you have wasted. So that's the first thing. Second and most important thing is investments. Now, what happens is that historically, a certain set or a certain media mix has really worked well for the brand. And people end up taking the top social site, the top search, the top entertainment, whatever these top sites are, and they have found their own road to success, which says this will give you performance. It actually holds true, because imagine that you are at home and you have to purchase something as simple as a packet of milk. The first thing that you will do is call up the kirana wala and say, hey, deliver the packet of milk. If you wanted a bigger purchase, maybe you would go to another platform and say, okay, deliver it in the next 2 hours, because you're giving a better discount. Brands are also doing the same. Immediate solution, okay, let's look at what's worked, let's put the money, let's keep the ball rolling. How much of investments that are going in is really giving results? I will ask you all one question. If you have ended up buying a mobile phone or anything in the last 15 days to 1 month, did the last click convert you? Or was it a series of communication that you went through? You have seen a hoarding, you have read a review in a newspaper, you have watched an unboxing video, you have listened to an influencer talk, and then in the entire process, there is quietly an ad which comes in and says, hey, look, 10% off. And you're like, okay, let's go for it. The decision-making did not happen at the ad level. The decision-making already happened in your mind, and you were just ratifying this in the process of finding some online article, unboxing video, which tells you, go for it. And then you end up buying it. Which is the second most, which in fact is the second most, which is talking about investments. Third, and something which is very close to my heart, being a part of an agency, pitching for new business is extremely important, which only means that I have to prepare a lot, go and present myself the best, and arrive at a solution. To simplify this task for the room, let's take this and compare it with brewing a perfect cup of coffee. The grind size, the roast type, the pressure of water, the amount of milk, white sugar, brown sugar, sugar-free, how much of water. There are so many elements all adding up to make you the perfect cup of coffee. And in most cases, no matter what you do, you might still not like the cup of coffee, right? So the same thing happens with us. So when we have a brief given to us, we go all out. Let's make 15 versions of creative. Let's give all detailed plans. Let's create a good strategy. Let's do some survey. Let's ask some influencer to come with us. So in this entire process, we are doing literally everything possible to get that business. But what we are really doing is, again, coming back to a cup of coffee, you're literally going to a coffee shop and telling you, give me that cup of coffee. I will have it, and only if I like it will I pay for it. And that's impending reality, in fact, I wouldn't even call it impending. It's the reality today. We are working 24/7 in certain cases with the hope that the business is converting on merit. Sometimes, and maybe sometimes, it's not entirely merit. That being said, in these three things were extremely important to cover from a media standpoint. I would also want to say that at the back end, one thing is real. That is data. Every time we have gone to a site and said, site, I trust you, take my cookies. Site, application, I trust you, allow, turn on, location data, everything. We are giving away the power, and the power is going more and more to the media owners, because technology is such a big thing that it is literally understands anything and everything about you. Why is it that you have started discovering newer brands? You never discovered newer brands before. You are discovering newer brands using various platforms, and all this is helping you either end up purchasing or end up understanding a new brand. I would anyways want to end by saying that it's the responsibility for everyone in the media industry to sell right. I think it's extremely important. It's important to be very transparent. It's important to have the right media mix towards the right investments, and the entire process of pitch and conversion of a client needs to be much more accountable. Thank you very much.